All right, let's talk branding. So I came up with the idea for this topic because I was talking to a prospect and we were going over what he needs for his marketing for this new firm he's starting up. And the last thing he mentioned was, well, we're thinking about getting a brand guide, but we don't think we're going to do that just yet. We're going to leave that until later. And I was like, oh, no, 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 no. See, your brand guide is the first thing that you need. Everything else comes after. But before you do any marketing, you need your brand guide first. It's called a brand guide for a reason, right? Its whole purpose is that it guides you in all of the marketing that you do going forward. Because anytime if you know us entrepreneurs, we know we tend to have shiny object syndrome. Oh, people are doing this. Oh, this is the new shiny thing. Oh, this is the new trend. Let's go do that. Is it in line with your brand? We all know it's not a good idea to go jump on the next trend just because it's trendy, but sometimes we can't help ourselves, right? So it can really help to stop, take a beat, and look at it in terms of your brand. Does it make sense for my brand to do this? Is this something that my brand would do? If you think about your brand as a person, which I'll talk about in a sec, is this something this person would do? Yes, great, go for it, give it a shot. If the answer is no, that's it. That's the answer. You're not going to do it. You're going to move forward with something else instead, or you're just going to keep doing what you're doing. So, uh, your brand guide, everything you do in marketing is guided by your brand. So, let's talk about how to create a brand guide. Ideally, you should talk to a professional like me to develop your brand for you. But if you're not in that place yet, if you need to go the DIY route, or if you're still like, what even is in a brand guide? What would that even entail? Let's talk about it. So, first thing your brand needs, personality. You don't need a brand mascot like the Geico Gecko or the Michelin Man or Mr. Clean, right? We can all list off all these brands, right? You don't need a mascot, but it can be a fun exercise to create this brand mascot for your brand. What would that mascot look like? Are they a cat person or a dog person? Are they fun and flirty, or are they really professional and proper? Are they laid back? Are they a go-getter? Think about these things in terms of your brand, because that idea of a person is really going to help. It's going to make your brand real for you. And again, it's going to help you make these decisions moving forward. Would the Geico Gecko hop on TikTok? I don't actually know the answer to that question because I'm not on TikTok, but it's a question worth asking, right? You have this brand mascot. What are they going to do next? What makes sense for them to do next? What's believable? That brings me to my next tip, feeling, right? Because every time you encounter these mascots, they evoke a feeling because, and then you associate that feeling with the brand that they are representing. That's the whole idea behind branding, marketing, right? It's all about evoking these feelings in people. So identify the feeling you want people to feel when they are encountering your brand, when they're interacting with your brand, and then reverse engineer that. That sounds a lot easier than it is. It's a pretty tricky process, but essentially that's what you need to do. So focus on that feeling. Do you want them to feel safe, excited, confident, motivated, reassured, happy, sleepy, amused, dopey, bashful, duck? No way. I'm sorry. That's the dwarves. So once you know how you want people to feel about your brand, you can reverse engineer that. So keep those feelings front and center. Definition. So this is something I always ask my clients, and it is undoubtedly the hardest question for them to answer, and it should be. It's not supposed to be an easy question, but I always ask, if you could define your brand in 3 words, what would they be? That is probably the hardest question to answer. It's like distilling your brand down into just the 3 essentials, right? So if you have, think about it like that mental exercise of, if you were going to a deserted island and you knew ahead of time you were going to go and you could only take 5 books with you, what 5 books would you bring? What are the 5 books that define who you are as a person? Kind of the same idea for your brand. What are those 3 definitions, those 3 values, if you will, that your brand cannot live without? So really distilling it down into those 3 words is so helpful for getting clarity on your brand. And again, once you have that clarity, you know what to move forward with, what to let go. Ideal clients. I say this all the time. Everything comes down to your ideal clients. What are they looking for? What do they need? How do they like to communicate? What topics are they looking for? What buyer journey do they tend to go on? Everything comes down to your ideal client. So you have to have a really clear idea of who these ideal clients are. So for an example, I was recently talking to a client of mine, and we were in our consultation, and he's swearing left and right throughout the whole conversation, and then suddenly says he doesn't want any swear words on his website. And I was like, okay, come on, dude. First of all, not only is he swearing all the time, so I know it's authentic to him to swear. We had also talked about the fact that he was getting more and more business from a particular networking group where a lot of lawyers hang out. And if you've hung out with lawyers, you know a lot of them tend to swear like sailors. So they will not be put off by, the occasional four-letter word on your website. If anything, they might be attracted to that because they're going to go, oh, I don't see that on a lot of websites. This guy's really talking my language. And that is a signal to them that you are part of their tribe. Nothing in our world today, nothing signals tribe better than language. Are you someone who uses four-letter words? Are you someone who uses really big, long Latin-based words? Or are you someone who uses short, simple words and simple language that almost everyone can understand, right? So all of that helps define who you are, and signals to someone, oh, this person is part of my tribe, or oh no, this person is definitely not part of my tribe. Absolutely not. So think about that. Think about who your ideal client is and what they're attracted to. So if I'd been talking to this client and he said he was looking for the high-powered C-suite executives, I'd be like, yeah, no, we don't want any swear words on your website. I would not have pushed back on that at all because those people probably would be put off by that language. So it's all about knowing your ideal clients, what they want, what they're looking for, how they tend to communicate. Because if you communicate in the same way they communicate, then everything's going to be smooth sailing from there. Values. Shared values are another great way to convince someone you are part of their tribe. This has become more important than ever as millennials and Gen Zers are starting to research the companies they buy from, right? So, for example, I mean, this was a while ago now, but back in January of this year, Target was like, you know what, DEI, we don't actually care about that. So we're just not going to pretend that that's a value that we hold anymore. So that was obvious that came from a really inauthentic place in the first place. It was just something they did for marketing. It wasn't a value that they really held. And people reacted. A lot of buyers were switched off and stopped buying from Target because DEI is a value that they hold. And they did expect the companies that they shop with, that they buy from, that they support, to hold those values as well. And when Target said, no, actually not, then the customer said the same thing right back. So that's the importance of consistency and authenticity, right? You don't want to pick up these values and then let them and then go, never mind. If it's gonna be a core value, make it a core value. Make it a defining part of your brand. And then that will make it easy for you to be consistent with it in perpetuity. Your favorite topics. So as a content marketer, I always like to ask people about their content pillars, also sometimes referred to as topic clusters. So this is a content, the name changes. It used to be topic clusters and now it's content pillars. The idea is you have 3 to 4 main pieces of content that you love to talk about. Because I run into this with people all the time, right? Where they don't know what to write about or they get really shy in front of the camera. But if you pull them aside at a networking event and ask them about the latest update in their industry, they will go off. You can't get them to shut up about it because it's something that they're really passionate about. It really interests them. They're excited to talk about it. That's the kind of stuff that you need infused into your brand. This is our messaging. This is the kind of stuff we're going to talk about. So your content pillars are usually 3 to 4 main pieces of content or topics that you tend to cover. So for each one, you've got a piece of pillar content, which is a really long, like 2,000 to 3,000 word kind of piece of content that just really dives deep into that topic. And then you have subtopics that are related to that main topic. And you have shorter pieces covering those subtopics, all linking back to that pillar content. So you get all that backlink juice. Google loves that. It's great for your SEO. It also organically drives people from one piece of content to another. And it's just a great way to organize your content. So this is another thing I always ask people about in terms of their branding is what are your favorite topics to cover? Because we are going to then center the brand around that. And it's a great way to come up with your theme for the month, right? I was just talking to someone the other day who had a really hard time coming up with their theme for the month. They weren't sure what to talk about in the month of August. And I was like, well, what's one of your content pillars? And they give me a blank look. So we have to have another conversation about that. So much easier. So thinking about, speaking of having another conversation, I know I give you a lot of information. I tried to keep it as simple as possible. There is more to like actually defining your brand than what I've talked about here, but this is the basics. This is a good starting point. So if you have any questions or if you need help defining your brand, coming up with that brand guide, please let me know. You can leave a comment here on YouTube. You can reach out to me. You can check out my website, which is more information on this. That's at AV, as in my initials, Allison Verhalen. That is avwritingservices.com. And you can reach me directly at info@avwritingservices.com. That's it. Have a great weekend. Happy branding, everyone.